Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 86 of your Sovereign Storytellers podcast with your host, Michelle Wolf. I'm going to walk around outside. You might hear some bugs and creak noise in the background. Hopefully it doesn't have to make you pee if you hear the water. Hopefully what I say doesn't make you have to pee. It's weird. Today's episode is going to be titled Get Loud. A lot of new business owners, people who are wanting to start an online business, really struggle with how much of themselves to make public. When you're building an online presence, you're afraid of pissing off Aunt Martha or letting people know what you truly believe. Publicly taking stands on things is difficult. For some of us, transparency comes more easily because we've already been through some of that. We've already stepped outside of our, family circles, social circles. There's already been that trauma of experiencing being on the outside. So when you go to create an online business, it's not quite as difficult to say what you want to say and be upfront about causes you support and things that you don't support. A big struggle for a lot of us lately is, especially of those who prefer to walk the middle of the road and to be, pretty patient and fairly tolerant with other people's opinions about things. However, I put a post on my Facebook page a few days ago that there are some things that you have to draw a line in the sand about. And it's not comfortable, and it's not fun. And of course you run the risk of losing friends and clients, potential clients, current friends, current clients. And yet, this year has changed everything. There is no room this year for agree to disagree on certain topics. We can agree to disagree on being vegan or not. You want a cheeseburger and I want a Beyond Burger. We can agree to disagree on the merits of diet. I'm not obnoxious about being vegan. We can agree to disagree on choices of music. There's some music I absolutely don't love, and I don't care if other people do. On the subject of racism and the requirement for us to dismantle our internal structures that support systemic problems, that support white supremacy and all that whole package. We can't agree to disagree on that. We're either doing it or we're not. I have some people in my life that I will be required to just not bring up the subject. I'm not super thrilled with that. But as for my online presence and my stance as a business owner, you need to know that not doing that work is unacceptable. I realize I haven't been loud lately. In the beginning of making the switch to an online business, I think I was a little bit louder. And then when I got the push to bring Forest Reiki out public, I went through another round of that. And I feel like it may be the last round. I've been very transparent about how uncomfortable I was with talking about Forest Reiki as a healing modality, and how uncomfortable I've been knowing that there were people in my social media circles who never knew that I was this level of spiritual, that I did these energy things. It was very uncomfortable. It bruised my ego. I didn't want to do it. And yet, the push to do it outweighed any ego struggle about not doing it. When my daughter came out as gay and now bisexual, I did not have to go through a thing about that, because I was a social worker. I have family members and friends who are gay, and it wasn't a big deal. My only transition on that was my concern about her safety driving through Kansas with lots of lesbian stickers on her car at the time, and her being denied housing because she was gay, which happened more than once. Threats being made to her. Those are the kinds of transitions. But as far as anybody knowing about it, I didn't care, couldn't have cared less. My granddaughters have 2 mommies. And I forget that people don't know that if they're new to me. I was joking with a friend yesterday about, I feel like I need to periodically post a value statement of some kind, or maybe a mission statement that makes it very clear what I'm about. When I was first starting and I was hesitant, and I would find myself agonizing, should I post this? Should I not post this? Should I post this? Should I not post this? I remember John Acuff saying that you really want to get loud. I don't think he said get loud. He may have said be loud. I don't know what he said, but he says some cool stuff, that John Acuff. He's been a real support to me about navigating the online land. You got to get loud. And he said, it's better to get loud and let people know what you're about, to, rattle your cage and let people know what you're about, so that they can then make the decision to stay or go. I really took that to heart when I read it. I was like, you know what? He's right. I don't want to spend personal or professional time with people who have a problem with gay parents having children, or gay parents being foster parents, or gay anything. Those are non-negotiables. I wouldn't spend personal or professional time with people who are promoting the far extreme conspiracy theories. Not because they're wrong, but because it is the polar opposite of my values. I wouldn't work professionally or spend time personally with people who are really devoted to hanging on to the all lives matter viewpoint of life. Or when confronted with white supremacy or white privilege and things like that, tend to say, well, the Irish were slaves. Yes, and because you're white, you're not enslaved anymore, and you don't suffer in the same way. I'm not even going to go down that road. That's what I mean about we need to maybe be loud on a more regular basis these days. If someone is a complete across the board, no vaccine ever for any reason, that's a value I cannot share. Yes, I think there needs to be more done. Yes, I think it should not be a for-profit corporation that's doing the development and the marketing, because they have a vested interest in the money. And whenever there's money involved, there's going to be abuse of some kind involved. That doesn't mean vaccines don't work ever. That doesn't mean that we can't develop an effective vaccine for the coronavirus. It doesn't mean that we should take every vaccine that crosses our path either. But for people who've drawn a line in the sand and said no vaccines ever for anybody, that's just as bad as saying everybody has to have vaccines all the time. I don't have room for that. We've got to get loud. You need to let people know what you're about. We do a lot of work in online coaching business worlds. What's your ideal client avatar? How old are they? What do they do? What motivates them? I've never been asked for a skin color on an ideal client avatar. Never even thought about it. I never even thought about, when I'm thinking about my ideal client, what are his or her values? What are the social justice issues that they are concerned about? Or are they concerned about any social anything? Have you ever thought about that? Do you want to work with people who have as a facet of their business building, how am I going to be anti-racist? How am I going to build a business that promotes, I'm going to say equality, but that's not the word I'm really looking for. How am I going to let people know that the, LGBTQI people are welcome here? That it's hard to find the words for all of this, actually. And it's okay to get loud and constantly refine that when you find better words, which I will be doing when I find better words. As I understand more aspects of white privilege, I will start using better words. Right now I'm reading and trying to educate myself even more, even though this started at birth in my family with aunts who were involved in civil rights and rights for differently abled and translators for the deaf and foster parents. And I was born into a family that thought about social issues. And even still, here I am at 53, learning even more and even more. So I don't have all the words yet, but here's what I'm encouraging you to do. If you don't want to work with people who have complete polar opposite views from you, then you need to periodically get loud and state your viewpoints. Here's what I'm about. That's different than here's what I'm about and fuck you, you're wrong, and you should be shipped off to Wyoming, which is a Colorado joke, because we used to live really close to the Wyoming border, and the joke is, just put a fence around Wyoming and treat it like a state jail. I go, it's not nice. It's not nice. Apologies to Wyoming. Coaching is hard work. Being a therapist is hard work. Helping anybody do anything to some degree, is periodically hard work. It can be harder or even impossible if the viewpoints shared by each of you are complete opposites. I'm not going to be able to do online work to the degree that I want to, that's satisfying for me, that's productive for my client, if that person is a die-hard Trump supporter. Because the values, the constructs, the mental belief systems, the whole package is facing a complete opposite direction than what I face. You just can't get as far. Now, as a therapist working for agencies, you work with who you get. As a social worker, you work with who you get. And you do as much as you can do. But there's a certain point where you can't go any further because it would require that person to shift 180 degrees from where they are. And first of all, I don't know that that's what should happen. Second of all, I wouldn't ask someone to do that. If you really, really, really believe no vaccines, nothing, ever, never, never, that's perfect for you. I wouldn't ask you to change. I know that you wouldn't change any more than I would change because that's a real solid belief. It's a real solid, it's more than a belief, right? It's a value. It's such a solid value that I wouldn't ask a client to change it. I would say, you need to be working with somebody else. There's plenty of other people out there that share that value. I'm not the right coach for you. If a value is strong enough to ask someone to change it, to work with you, and this is all I'm talking about, is working with clients. I'm not talking about the larger scheme of things. This is pretty micro. I know that I would not change my position on the current state of politics. And if someone is really hardcore set on their position, I wouldn't ask them to change it either. I would say, I'm not the right coach for you. We can do some things, but we wouldn't work together well on any kind of intimate, deep level. That's what I'm saying. The reason I started really thinking about this is also in that conversation yesterday. This person shared with me that someone she followed on Instagram who'd never mentioned anything about anything lost their temper, sounds like, and went off and made a very strong, it's like saying nothing about nothing, and then all of a sudden grabbing a megaphone and screaming their position on their page. And it was a shock. It was like a bucket of ice water onto my friend. It was like, whoa, this is never, there's never been a hint. There's never been a, here's what I'm about. All of us, the nothing, then bucket of ice water on everybody. You don't want that to happen for your friends or your clients. And again, I just want to acknowledge that I know this is coming out imperfectly. And also, I'm not open to debating it. This is the best I can do for today. One of the things I learned in therapy school is you can't work with everybody as effectively as you can with the people who share similar, not copycat, but similar values, similar worldviews. It's too much. Therapy's hard enough. You go to therapy because you've got something important that needs to change. That change process, whether it's therapy or coaching, is difficult. It requires a great deal of courage. It requires a great deal of commitment, which is why most people don't do it. They don't bother examining deeply held beliefs. It's a lot of work. It means you might have to face some uncomfortable truths about yourself. You might have to experience a buttload of shame when you find something in yourself that you didn't quite realize was there. Most people don't stick with the change process because of that. But if you're a coach or a therapist, then this is a very strongly held value I have. By God, you better be always examining yourself. You better always be clarifying what your values are. And a lot of us are re-clarifying again. You'll do it again and again and again. You won't clarify your values, figure out what you stand for, take the time to get loud about it, and 10 years from now be in the same position. Not if you're going to be good at what you do. You always have to be open to new information, new examination, new self-reflection, adapting and changing with the times as appropriate. So the reason to get loud from the beginning is so that you don't ice water bucket your people. And what I discovered over this last week is I just haven't been mindful and intentional about it, right? I'm just sharing the same stuff I share and have kind of fallen into a comfortable groove there. And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, I clearly need to start making some more statements. It's been a while since I made it clear where I stand. People need to know that. In my opinion, it's only fair that you let people know if you're going to work with them, if you may potentially work with them. If they're on your page because they like something you said, they need to know the other things that you say as well. And remember, most people don't go, if people got on my page and scrolled back 6 months and then came forward, they'd pretty much, I would hope, see what they need to see, enough to get a sense of where I stand on things. But the thing about Facebook is most people don't scroll back. I do. If I'm going to work with somebody, I go way back on their Facebook page or their Instagram feed because I want to know what they were posting about 6 months ago. I'll even go back a year to see what they were posting about because I want to know what their values are. I wouldn't work with someone who didn't believe that trees can talk to you. I wouldn't, because it would be too difficult. It's too hard if someone doesn't know what it feels like to have a sense of oneness with an animal. What are we going to talk about? It's too hard. It's a big gap. And again, if you're going into a change process, you want to minimize those gaps. You want to have at least some similarities in your worldview about the way life goes. I actually don't teach shielding. I don't believe it's a good idea. Energetic shielding. Protect yourself from energy vampires. I actually teach the opposite. Master that energy and roll it on through. And I've got processes you can do to get comfortable with that. But some people will think, well, I need a shielding thing. I'm like, yeah, I don't teach that. So I got a long list of people I think you'll work well with. Let me give you that list, and you can go learn what you want to learn from somebody who teaches that. I'm a big believer in, at the core of all of it, we're all one. And also, we're in individual physical bodies that have individual personalities that are living this physical experience from a certain viewpoint. So, and that's part of what we're seeing a lot of backlash on people who want to talk to you from the one state of oneness. We're all one. This is a very short life. This goes on and on. This level of conflict is nothing new. Go back and look at history. Kingdoms rising, falling, rising, falling. Genocide, genocide, genocide. Over and over and over. It's not new. And it's new for us. We need to know what vantage point we're talking from, and people need to know on that continuum of speaking from the big picture, macro view of oneness, endless time, multiverse, which I love. It's not always appropriate to talk to other people, and it's often not appropriate to talk to your clients from that state when they can't pay their bills and they're scared. Okay, you have to remember, we have this physical, tangible, how the fuck am I going to buy groceries because my client didn't pay their payment, or because the car broke and I had to put the money on the car instead of the electric bill. We have this viewpoint, and then we have the macro, micro, macro, sliding up and down that continuum. People need to know, where are you on that continuum? Politically, I hold certain viewpoints. From the oneness, none of this shit matters. Not one part of it matters. It matters to the physical life that our souls are experiencing right now, that my soul is experiencing right now. It matters. From that bigger viewpoint, doesn't matter. Do you see? You have to challenge yourself to hold the both and you need to be able to get loud about what you believe in, what your values are, out of fairness for the people who follow you, for the people who may be looking at you as a potential person to hire to help them through a change process. They need to know what you're about. I don't want people to experience having a bucket of ice water dumped on them like my friend did. That was a shock to her system. And I was like, wow, that shouldn't have been a shock. Like, you don't have to blah, blah all the time like I do. Hey, I warned y'all that I'm an overposter. So if you don't like it, exit stage left. I already warned you. Here's my update. I'm still an overposter. I probably always will be if I don't give up on social media altogether and go work at the gas station. So I know I'm not being as organized and clear as I'd like to be in what I'm trying to say here. So let me see if I can bottom line it. Set yourself some calendar reminders that once a month you post your company's mission statement, your manifesto, your whatever, that lets people know what your business is about, the values that you hold, so that they don't have to experience that bucket of ice water. If they're new to you and they're a friend of a friend of a friend, and they're like, what? Her granddaughters have 2 moms? I'm not down with that. That's a bucket of ice water. I'm using that as, that's also not a great example because it's nobody's business, but it's a nice, clear-cut example of what I'm talking about, right? Don't let people think that you're okay with whatever white supremacy, white privilege crap is going on, and you just don't say anything about it. I can tell you, the businesses that aren't saying anything about it, I'm not buying from. I want to know what their values are, because I don't want to spend money on companies who don't have the guts to say what their values are and what actions they're going to take on this. So get loud. I shouldn't have to say this, but just in case, I don't mean scream at people, obviously. When I mean get loud, I could just easily say, and maybe should have said, get visible. Get visible. Get vocal. Let people know what you're about. Often. Often enough that if they're new to you, they don't, make a lot of assumptions. We're people, we make assumptions. If we like someone, we assume that they're like us. So let people know what you're really like so they don't get doused in ice water. That's not fun. Okay? It's not a good business practice to try to be everything to everybody. It doesn't work. I tried very hard. I can help in 2,500 ways. I need to only help in the ways that feel absolutely 100% in alignment with me and the values I hold as a coach, as a helper, as a healer, as a business owner. Okay, so you got to narrow it down. You can't be everything to everybody, so go ahead and get loud and tell people what you're about. If you can't do that, you might want to get some coaching before you try to build a business. I think probably I wasted, not that I didn't learn anything, but I probably wasted a good 18 months trying not to upset anybody, trying not to be too woo-woo. I hate that word anyway. Trying not to be too controversial. But then I was like, you know what? When I worked as a sex assault response team coordinator, if somebody wasn't mad at me, I knew I wasn't doing my job. If somebody's not upset with you, you're not doing your job. If somebody's not annoyed with you, you're not being visible enough. You're not being authentic enough. Pipe up. Get loud. Get visible. Let people know what you're about so that when you say something or an issue comes up, they aren't caught off guard. They aren't like, damn. But I like you, so I thought you were like me. It's like, well, we're not. And that's all right. It's all right to not be friends with everyone. It's all right to wish everybody was just like you. It's all right to wish that you could be, empress of the world and make it all in your image and make everybody do what you think is correct. It's all right to want that. That ain't how it goes. We know that. It's a lot, right? It's a continuum. It's a both and. It's a package of this and a package of that, and you have to hold a little bit of all of it, and then you have to consciously choose your values. You have to consciously say, these things I can agree to disagree on. These things I cannot. I will not. And you need to know that so that you can make your own choices accordingly. No hard feelings. For real. For real, real. Sound like that commercial. They're real, real. With the purses for resale. Oh, you guys, sometimes I wish I could get more clear in my thoughts. But I can't, so you get what you get. That's the value. I want to get on here, tell you what's up. I don't want to script it. I don't want to have it all thought out, nailed down, organized, points A, B, and C, paragraph B, subset 2. Come on now. All right, so forgive me for saying things wrong. Forgive my tangentialness. If you want to stick around, I'm sure there'll be something else to say. Here's what you need to know for today. I am anti-Trump. I am pro-choice. I am pro-GLBTQI, and if they want to add 7 more letters to that acronym, I'm down for that too. I am actively anti-racist. I'm exploring my reactions in my thoughts every single day. Where else am I not seeing the injustice? Where else am I experiencing privilege, taking it for granted? Okay, I am pro-vaccine. I'm anti-corporation. I'll give you that. I do not believe Bill Gates is trying to take over the world. I am absolutely not about a flat earth or anything with the letters QAnon. I think there are aliens. I don't know that we'll ever get to see them, because if they were smart, why would they let us know that they're here? We're a mess. Okay, but I also think it's arrogant for us to think we're the only civilization in a galaxy of 7 billion trillion, whatever, a Google's worth of planets and galaxies. Okay, that's a little arrogant to think we're the only ones that have ever developed anything. What else? I feel like I need a friendship resume. I'm a Democrat, 100%. I used to be a whoever I thought was best, but the Republican Party that I grew up with is no more. It is gonzo. It does not exist. If it ever goes back to that, I'll be more of a moderate. Right now, 100% demo. Okay, human beings are complex. Relationships are complex. Get loud so people know what you're about. Be transparent as possible. You don't have to tell everybody every damn thing about you. But if it's a hardcore value of yours, in my opinion, people need to know. We don't want to be throwing ice water on anybody. All right? And people will say, if you're blah, 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 unfriend me. That's fine. I actually have no hard feelings for someone unfriending me. I had a friend once when I learned how to set a boundary, because I went to the boundary store and I bought me a bag full of boundaries and I started using them, and she said, we can't be friends anymore. At first it really hurt me, but then I was like, I really respect that. I really respect that. She was like, you've changed and I don't want to be friends with you anymore. And I was like, ow! Fuck! Oh, fair enough. That's a nice clean cut. So I'm absolutely okay with you unfriending me. I'm absolutely okay with unfriending you. Right? We need to be okay with endings. We need to be okay with, I'm going to wander off. I'm going to stop myself. But I will say, we should be okay with walking a part of our path with someone else for a short period of time or a long period of time. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Nothing. We can be okay with ending relationships when they change to the point that the gap between the values is a chasm too far to cross. You can say goodbye with love. You don't have to hate people to say goodbye. You can say, wow, yeah, there's a big old chasm here. I don't want to traverse it. Do you? Probably not. So let's just say goodbye. Thanks for walking with me for a few months or a few years or a few decades. It's all right if we need to say goodbye. Okay? All right, I'm going to shut up now because I don't think I'm making the kind of sense that I would prefer to make. And I'm about to get loud and throw this out publicly, okay? So think about it. If you're going to be online, you might need to let people know. Little comment here and there. A little statement here and there. Keep it fresh on your feed because people are always coming and going. All right? I'll talk to you next time. Until then, my last podcast, I said my own ending tagline incorrectly. I said, think less, talk more. What the hell? Y'all know what it is. Think less, feel more. I'll talk to you later.